evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. I have lots of energy as I'm standing up here, and this is an amazing opportunity because you are all infinite beings. You are here as part, not really of a journey, but a process of awakening to that infinite self that's who you really are. So we're going to talk about that tonight, and I'm going to start with a story that you may recognize. So this was my first encounter with the infinite. Some of you may relate to this. So, when I was 9 years old, after celebrating a really usual kind of 9-year-old birthday with cake and friends and family, I lay awake that night. I was excited because they said, "You're getting to be such a big girl now." And I lay there asking myself, well, who am I? And I went through my name, my family, Thomas Jefferson. I'm a girl named Patricia in the Griffith family, and I go to Thomas Jefferson Elementary because at that time my family was here in Wichita. And that's in Wichita, in Kansas, in the United States of America, in the Western Hemisphere, in the world, in the galaxy, and in the Milky Way. I guess the Milky Way came first, and then the galaxy. And in the universe, and at each step I would take and soak that in. But what's more? But what's more? And I got to the universe. And what's more? Well, it must be God. God's the only thing big enough to hold the universe. I must be a girl named Patricia in my family, in Wichita, in the world, in the universe, and part of God. And I just took that in and rolled over and went to sleep in such peace. That was my first conscious encounter with the infinite. Flash forward about to 1979 or so, 40 years ago. I was sitting in the audience, big, what they called Religious Science Church, now the Centers for Spiritual Living, listening to a minister named Wes McPherson, wonderful guy. In the middle of his Sunday lesson, he said, kind of as a throwaway comment at the moment, "I want to know God and know that I know." And it was like a jolt of lightning going through me. I just instantly said, yes, that's what I want. And he talked about, he didn't want to just feel warm, fuzzy feelings about God or imagine God or think grand concepts about God. He wanted to know the same way that you know you're breathing or your hand is attached to your arm. Me too. I wanted that. And I never said anything about it to my friends, even my friends on the spiritual journey at the time. But that became my intention. Now, at that time, I was attending that church and studying to become a practitioner. I was also studying very deeply A Course in Miracles. It was before there were study groups, so I was reading daily and doing the suggested meditations. I had been a meditator for about 8 or 9 years, about an hour a day, very faithfully. So I was doing everything I knew to do my part to uplift myself spiritually. And funnily enough, during that time period, I began having night terrors. Do you guys know what that is? Usually only little kids have it. It's when you wake up in the night absolutely frightened to death, maybe screaming, but you have no memory of what caused the fear. It's not a nightmare. I mean, we all know what it's like to wake up with an icky dream or a scary dream. Wasn't that? It took me 2 years to bring back memory of why I was having the night terrors. And it was because that thing that was my heart's desire, to know God and know that I know, I was attempting to go up in a vortex of light. It felt like I was being sucked up into a vortex of light. And my personality, my ego said, no! I wasn't ready to check out. I wasn't ready for that fullness of that experience. So it took me 2 years to bring back that awareness. And shortly after that, I started studying with John Roger. And it was only when I started working with the teachings of the spiritual heart through MSIA that the night terrors went away. I said after a few months of studying John Roger's materials that it was as if I had gone from those terrors, and my other experience was that I was whacking my way through the brush up a steep mountainside, following little trails, but breaking trail in a lot of areas, that I shifted from that to a well-marked, paved road that wound gently around, spiraling up the mountain. And my experiences became orderly, gentle, and gradual. Boy, was I grateful. So since then, my spiritual progression, whatever that is, has been an amazing process. So I really related to the song and Bruce and Eleanor singing and Virginia playing amazing things. It's just been beyond my wildest dreams. So thank you for the song. So I feel like those experiences over a period of now almost 33 years studying with John Roger have qualified me, if you will, to say a few things about the infinite. And the first thing that I think is important is that you celebrate your infinite self. Now, celebrate, when I first heard about this day of prayer and the theme, I kept thinking, party time. Celebrate is also to honor, to applaud, to solemnize as in a wedding or another ritual, to commit and make it public. So tonight, I would invite you to use whatever you can take from my words and whatever is in your heart and commit and celebrate your own self, your infinite self, and your infinite purpose. If you were in the workshop I just did, we talked just a little bit about your infinite purpose. And let me share now that I think it's the same for everyone. We all have a purpose of going back into the Creator, into God, whatever you want to call it, the divine essence, home to the heart of God, knowing yourself as a soul and beyond into God, however you want to say it. I don't think the words matter, as long as there's loving and that intention of that kind of connection, that we celebrate. The thing that Jesus said is, and my references tonight are all from John 13 and 14. I'm not a Bible scholar, so I'm not going to quote the exact scriptures, but he said, where I'm going right now, you can't go there, but I'm going to go and prepare a place for you. I think he was talking about this great outer reality. So we have within us wonderful multidimensional aspects, including our soul, and that opens into the great infinite creator. So I think Jesus was talking about, you can follow me there. But I think that depends on us doing the work inwardly, making a place where we can have that connection, where we can open to the grace, the awareness, where we can open to the knowing of our oneness with God. Jesus also said, in my Father's house are many mansions. Now, 2,000 years ago, when he was talking to Jewish people in the area that we know now as Israel and Palestine, a mansion would have been huge. Most people had small homes. And a house that was filled with many mansions would have been vast beyond belief. Each one of us is vast beyond belief, just in here. And that means we have many layers and levels. So we have, at the very least, the physical, the astral, which is the imagination, the causal, which is the emotional level, the mental, the etheric would be the unconscious, and our soul or spirit, whatever you want to call that. At the very least. Plus, we have all of our personality aspects. The inner rebel, anybody relate to that? Maybe a wallflower part. Maybe an adventurer. Maybe your mom role or your dad role. We have many, many aspects and roles that we play. Plus, we have all the stuff that we don't remember that's in the unconscious. And believe me, that goes back a long, long way. So we have all of those things being different rooms in the many mansions within. But it's all within here. So it seems like it's infinite within here, but it's more infinite out there. So to look at this a little bit more practically, little Billy, that's little Billy up there. Little Billy was running in and out, slamming the door, and his mom was getting extremely exasperated. She finally said, "Billy, how are you ever going to get to heaven?" He thought about it for a minute. "Well, Mom, I guess I'll just run in and out and slam the door until St. Peter says, 'Billy, will you just get in here and stay in here?'" So for much of my life, I've been like Billy. I've been in and out. Sometimes I slam the door. But if we look at Billy's story metaphysically, that in and out is in and out of the inner realms within. Taking time to go in, but then, there's all these cool things to do out in the world. Or, oh my God, I'm having a fight with my husband. Or, it's endless, the things that we encounter here in the world that pull us out of the inner space. I've been meditating for 43 years. I counted it up for you guys. And typically, I sit down, I do sit, or prop up in bed. I write an intention. I note the time. After a while, I'm done, and I note the time, and I would like to write down what happened from my intention. But what I usually write is chanting and thoughts. Now, some of my best talks have emerged from my spiritual exercises. Also, some of my best grocery lists. You get the picture? Fortunately, this process works anyway. So, could we take a little bit of a lesson from Billy? And maybe we are not yet ready to get in there and stay in there, because we're still here. We're still walking around on planet Earth. Oh, that reminds me, I have one other thing to share with you. And so how many of you have been taught you have a soul? Show of hands. Okay, I have another perspective to share. You are a soul and you have a human. You are a soul and you have a human. You, as a soul, are inhabiting this human form. But you're in a state of being. You are, everything's cool. Somebody bangs your car, oh, it's cool, another experience. That's what getting banged up in your car feels like. Oh, cool, okay. Oh, you have a diagnosis. Oh, fine, okay. You know, something great is happening. Won the lottery. Oh, fine, that's lovely. The personality is going, woohoo, or oh no. But the soul is just registering more experience. Now, we talked about wanting that infinite purpose, wanting to go home to God, wanting to know God and know that we know. To get there, to know ourself, our big self, we got to go through the personality. And what tools do we have but the personality, the ego? Our conscious self is what we use to choose to go back in and make the spiritual connections. Is this making sense? So it's a paradox. We long to know our soul and to know God, yet we're in this human form, and God hid the soul really well. He hid the spiritual part in here. So in order to get in here, we have to somehow get those wake-up moments that make us want to turn in, that make us want to go inside and listen and make the connections, do whatever our practices are that help us uplift. So with little Billy, in and out, in and out, in and out. We may not be ready to have the full experience of God yet, but we're heading in that direction. And we can keep choosing to go back in, to go back in, to go back in to the sacred place, to open to that, to let it inform our daily actions here, and mainly to bring more loving present. When we bring the loving present, when we choose loving over and over, it makes it easier to keep going inside. It makes it easier to have those spiritual connections. When we have a lot of stuff pulling on us, whether it's relationship issues, money issues, career issues, any of those things, it's hard to go back in and focus. But when we choose loving, those outer issues often start softening, healing, sliding away. They kind of take care of themselves many times. Another tool for that is when we're in the situations that are challenging, to say, I'm loving this. That's one of my very favorite tools. Now, sometimes it's, I'm loving this, I'm loving this, but after 3 or 4 times of saying it through gritted teeth, I start to giggle. And the absurdity of, I'm loving this, starts to break up the crystallizations, and I actually end up, okay, it's not such a big deal. And then I can hear my spiritual advice. I can see the next step. I can be in touch with the infinite purpose again. So when we celebrate and honor, every time you go inside in your meditation, in your prayer or reflection time, you are honoring that sacred part of you. You are honoring and celebrating that. That's your connection to the infinite. This level, we've got seemingly unlimited choices, and we can have a lot of fun with that. But the limitless, the infinite, is really found going within. So let's today recommit and enjoy every moment on all levels, and even if we're running in and out, that we keep choosing back to the sacred, to the real self. Berush Beshan, which means the blessings already are.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.